Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Now we're moving on to the Af'al al-Tahwil. So if you go back to our chart, we've been through it quite a few times. We have Fa'l al-Qalb and we have Fa'l al-Jariha, which is A'ta, Razaqa, Fa'l al-Qalb, Alima, Dhanna. Now Fa'l al-Tahwil. What does Fa'l al-Tahwil mean? It's a Fa'l al-Qalb, but they call it Taghliban Fa'l al-Qalb. It's where you take one thing and you assume it to be another, or you change it into another. There's also have two maf'ul bihis. So the Af'al al-Tahwil, ma takunu bima'na sayyara. So Af'al al-Tahwil are those verbs which have the meaning of sara from bab taf'il sayyara, to change one thing into another state. So not actually qalb from the heart, but it can be from the mind to think of one thing to be different or to change one thing. And the first one is sayyara. Yes? And there's a poem, sayyara adhba sharabi murra. So sayyara is a fa'l sayyara. Adhba sharabi, maf'ul bihi awwal. Murran is maf'ul bihi thani. It changed, it made, it changed probably better, it changed. Meaning, to convert from one state to another. It changed the maf'ul bihi awwal to maf'ul bihi thani. I.e. it made the sweetness of life bitter. وَزَادَ ذِيقَ الْحَيَاةِ ذِيقًا. That's the rest of the poem. And it increased the life, the constraints of life even more. It increased the constraints of life even more. But this is the istishari here, this is the poem. So this is maf'ul bihi awwal, maf'ul bihi thani, fa'l tahwil. So whatever the fa'il is referring to, huwa, it made, it changed. Okay? The second example you have is radda. Sorry, radda. Now radda means to, what does radda yaruddu raddan mean? Turadduna ila alim al-ghayba, to be returned back to. Now again you have to remember, in many places, some of the when you have like a simple tafsir or when you have a simple book of Nahw, we're not focusing on ma'ani, they'll say, oh, radda ma'na sayyara. But what you have to remember that whenever you have a word, the Quran does not use two words in the same meaning. If they mention them, they have slightly different connotations, slightly different emphasis, slightly different nuances. So what we're saying here is, when you have the word radda, radda means to return. So that would imply a rad. So tahwil means you have one becomes two. Okay, and now sayyara. Okay, when you have radda, that would imply that one becomes two because it was already two before. Turn back, return you back to a previous state. So for example here, radda. So it means here, one was two, then it became three, and now it's going back to two again. So radda. So one becomes two again, after a previous state. So here, وَدَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ. Many people of the book, they wish, what do they wish? يَرُدُّونَكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ إِيمَانِكُمْ. After you brought belief, to take you back into the state of kufr. Yes? So this is taghlib. Majority of the people became Muslims, were kafir, and then they became Muslim. So they want to change you back. So if you say, لَوْ يُسَيِّرُكُمْ, it would not have that double meaning. فَهِمْ لَوْ جَعَلَكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا لَكُمْ كُفَّارًا, it would not have that same meaning. The word radda has the meaning of that you were already on that state previously. Is everybody following? وَتَرَكَ. Taraka means to leave. Now, taraka again can be used both ways. One is taraktu. It may be coming up later on, I can't remember. Taraktu Zaydan, I left Zayd. Taraktu al-qalama ala al-maktabi. Yes, all of these mean what? I left the pen on the table. I left Zayd. That's just one fa'il, one maf'ul bihi. Taraka means to leave one thing in a particular state. Are you following? To leave one thing in a particular state. So what does Allah say? That when the example of those people, let's give an example parable. And the parable consists of you have grass, or you have mud, you have soil on top of a boulder. And obviously, as long as the soil is there, you can get greenery growing. When the rain comes, tarakahu salda, it wipes it out completely. So it leaves it. Meaning, something comes and causes that change, and then it is left. It is like left behind. So again, it's tahwil, but it has that meaning of leaving something behind. And salda means like barren, empty, nothing on top of it. So fatarakahu salda. So taraka, again, a fi'l tahwil, it has the meaning of leaving it in a particular state, to leaving in a state. Sayyara, to change to a particular state. Radda, taking back to a particular state. Taraka, to leave in a particular state. And that would mean something came changed it, and then changed it from its previous state and put it into a new state. Are you following? Takhidha and ittakhadha, there's ikhtilaf regarding, is it the same word, different words? Is it ittakhadha of ma'akhadha? That's some sarf in sarf, inshallah, in more detail. For example, ittakhadha Allah Ibrahima Khalila. Allah took Ibrahim, I don't want to use the wrong word for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Adopted him, took him, made him into, took him as a friend. Allah made Ibrahim a Khalil. Ja'ala, to make one thing into another state. فَجَعَلْنَاهُ, we will make it into haba'an manthura. I think it's referring to the mountains. We will make it into haba, like dust, and manthur means spread out. Like, unfortunately, those of you seeing, like for example, you have bombs dropping on those places, you just see dust coming up. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, day of Qiyamah, He will destroy the mountains, and the mountains will become like dust, and nothing will be left. Wa wahaba, wahaba has the meaning of ja'ala. So, wahabani Allahu fida'an lil ilm. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make me someone who sacrifices himself for knowledge. Yes? So, ni is maf'ul bihi awwal, fida'an is maf'ul bihi thani, lil ilm is muta'alliq aw maf'ul lahu fida'an. Understood? So, these are all أفعال التحويل. And as mentioned before, هذه الأفعال لا تتعدى إلى مفعولين إن لم تكن من أفعال التحويل. If they're not from أفعال التحويل, they're not going to have two مفعول, they have one مفعول. For example, إني تركت ملة قوم لا يؤمنون بالله. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was in prison, he said to the Sahiba Yasijni, to the two companions, "O my two companions, I have left," abandoned. Here means abandoned. Not leaving one thing, not leaving a state, but it's abandoned, disregarded. I have left. Stop taking practice to the millah of people who do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, again, ثُمَّ يُرَدُّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِ. يُرَدُّ means يُصَارُ, he will turn to Allah, he will take him to Allah. There's no two maf'ul bihi here. So this is now a فعل جارحة. جعل can mean خلق. So خلق أوجد, bring into existence. So sometimes you will see جعل, Mufassir will say أوجد. Why is it أوجد? To the ishara towards this. وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ. There's only one مفعول به. So therefore it's a فعل الخلق أوجد. Not جعل بمعنى فعل القلب. So some Mufassir will mention the word جعل and the translation of جعل as أوجد to tell you it's not for فعل القلب. Okay, سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك.